Hey, I'm Ken, and this video is part 4 of my Making a Mobile Game series, where we go step by step through the process of making a simple touchscreen mobile game in Flowlab. We're going to add a bunch of new stuff in this video. We'll start by adding an enemy that chases the player, a simple title screen, and then finish up with some sounds and animations to make the game feel a lot more dynamic. Okay, let's get started. A simple way to calculate a score for this game will just be to use the camera's Y position. That way, the farther down we scroll, the higher the score will be. We can just add a label to display the camera's position. And try it out. First off, the score is increasing a lot faster than I'd like. I can just use an expression to divide the value by 32, so it'll increase by 1 for every 32 pixels we move. Okay, let's try that. I mean, it's increasing more slowly, but I really just want to display a simple integer and not a decimal number like this. We can look in the documentation for this behavior to see if there's a built-in function that'll help us. Okay, math.round. That's a function that will round our result to the nearest integer. Let's try it. Okay, that looks a lot better, but it's starting at a -1 instead of 0, so let's just add 1 to the result. Okay, perfect. Okay, we can move this out of the corner. And now let's send our score to the online leaderboard when the game's over. First, we'll store the current score in an object variable. This way we can access the score from anywhere inside of our object. Now inside of our crash bundle, we can get the latest score, and then update and display the leaderboard when we crash. Now you might be wondering why we don't just always send our score to the leaderboard every time it changes. And the reason is that the leaderboard is an online service, and there's a limit to how quickly it can be updated. If you try and send the scores too often, then updates can get ignored, and it's possible that some high scores won't actually get recorded. That's why we're only going to send the score at the end of each game. Now we'll pick a theme that matches our game and reposition it. Now we have an issue where our leaderboard is going to cover up our play again message. So let's make that visible and tweak it some. We'll make it a bit bigger too while we're at it. Okay, looks good. I'll make it invisible again. Test it out. Okay, seems like it works. Now let's make an enemy to chase our skier. We'll pick a sprite. Make it movable. Okay, the Yeti should always be chasing the player, so let's start by extracting the player's X and Y values. We can use a point at behavior to make sure it's facing toward the player's current position. And then give it some forward motion so it's moving towards the player as well. Okay, now it moves towards the player, but it should stop when they collide. We'll add a collision trigger to check for collisions with the skier. And use a switch to turn off forward movement. When he contacts the skier. And set the forward velocity to 0 as well to bring it to a stop. Okay, that looks right. We can delete this Yeti since we're going to spawn them in with the rest of the obstacles. Inside the spawner, we can generate a random number to decide whether to spawn an obstacle or a Yeti. We'll generate a number between 1 and 16, so that we'll have a 1 in 16 chance of spawning a Yeti. This filter will check whether the random value is less than 16, and if it is, we'll emit an obstacle. And otherwise, we'll emit a Yeti. Okay, seems to be working. We're getting pretty close to complete, but we should display a title screen when the game starts, and we'll use the user interface layer for that. Anything created in this layer will get displayed over top of the game world. We'll start by deleting the default sprite and making it larger. Okay, let's add some text. We'll use the dark outline color from our player sprite. Now we'll do it again with our blue color to make a quick shadow. Then add some simple instructions. This looks okay, but let's make it go away when the game starts. Okay, it works. Now at this point, the game is pretty much working the way I'd like, but it feels a little static. Just a few animations and sounds will go a long way towards making the game feel a little more interesting to play. Let's start with the player. And add a ski animation. And we can play this animation each time we turn. Another thing we can do is play a sound. Okay, I like that. We should play a sound effect when we crash as well. That's pretty good. Okay, let's try it. Okay, I like that. Now we can do the same for our Yeti. Add a walk animation. And an attack animation. We can use it once to start walking when the Yeti spawns. And also make it growl to alert the player that it's here. Collisions with the player can trigger the attack animation. And play a different growl as well. Okay, one last test. I'm happy with that. Okay, our game's starting to feel pretty polished. In future videos, I'll be showing how to test on mobile devices, how to publish, how to run ads, and more. Please subscribe if you'd like to see future updates, and thanks for watching.